What's up, traders? Eric here from MajorLeagueTrading.com. And what a move here out of the Nasdaq today. So we were able to get that pullback into 839 quarters. Unfortunately, like I mentioned on my Instagram here today, I left the desk today about 11:30, kind of right up in through this area. We were maybe trying to hold the opening print up here today, that 956.50 level, but just really, unable to do so here today. And there's a couple things about this chart that we can take a look at and kind of get a little bit of an idea and a feel for tomorrow, and obviously put together a plan here. So with that being said, I think there's one interesting piece that we have to look at here for today, and that's just going to be this pre-market action. So obviously we had this big bar yesterday morning here that led into that rally, and then we had more data which we were looking at for today that came out at 8:30 as well, and that gave us, a pretty decent bar here to the upside, but it just ended up leaving it as a wick here, right, and just a big topping tail. So that one piece of information here is important because when we look at the Nasdaq, we didn't test that high later in the day. When we look at the S&Ps, we also didn't test that high, later in the day. But when we look over at something like the Russell here, the Russell was able, with a good strong rally even, out of these lows here, able to rally up almost 40 points on the day. I mean, a total 36.9 range. And that, for the most part, all came within like the first hour and a half or so of the day, from 9:30 up to, 11 o'clock here when we set these highs. So it was able to rally up, kind of take out those pre-market highs. And then same thing here with the Dow. So the way I'm taking this information right now is I'm going, okay, cool. S&Ps and Nasdaq haven't been able to rally up and test that level. The main market I'm focused on right now here is obviously going to be the Nasdaq. And with this, I think there's room for a really nice play to the upside in there into the end of the week to go ahead and, round out and kind of tag that level. Now, the question becomes is, hey, are we going to go lower first here or not, right? If we look at this daily chart, there's some potential room to the downside. So for me, my plan now is really, really simple. If we get under 839 quarters here tomorrow, which we did test once and then twice here today, and you can see we've bounced, about, 20, 30 points or so from that level in the after hours here. But if we get through that level to the downside, I think that opens the door for this 660.75 level to get tested. Again, that's the one that we just rallied straight up through yesterday on that news. And, we're unable to really test it here in regular trading hours at any point yesterday. So we never got that pullback. And if we crack under 839 quarters, that's where I think we're headed to. And I'm okay with that trade, right? I would very much be okay with almost a 200 point, 180 point move to the downside here. I think that's going to provide some really nice opportunities. Now, if we don't crack under 839s, and at the same time we don't crack above 15,958s here, meaning that this market can't rally, 100 points up here towards 958s, then we're going to be stuck in what I'm going to consider to be a do not trade zone. So if tomorrow we're just bouncing around here between 15,880s, 15,860s, up to 15,920s and, back and forth here inside of this range, then I'm not interested in doing anything to the long side or the short side. I'm literally just going to sit on my hands or put my hands under my mouse pad right here and just do absolutely nothing, right? So I want no parts of that because I think it's going to be super choppy, volatile, whippy type action. And that's the time where the market's just going to end up taking that money. And so far this week, with the few trades in which we've had, which have been some smaller sized lottos, it actually turned out to be a pretty decent week so far. And I want to go ahead and protect that, right? But if we do get up through 15,958s, then, like I said, we got room to that kind of 16,049s, and maybe a little bit more there, to kind of round out the week. And I'm not opposed to, taking that long. I just want to see us get through that first, in order to do so. There is one other opportunity here where maybe we poke down under 839s first, somewhere under today's low, 830s and change maybe. and then reverse back up through 839s and start working into an uptrend. That would be, it's a little bit more of kind of an advanced play in which we'd have to see a couple more things, maybe a divergence and such, in order to trade that, but would give us a really nice long opportunity, you know, down in this area somewhere of 840s for like a 050 target, right? So which would be like 200 points. And then we can obviously add to it over 958s if all of those things came together, right? So that full plan, everything like that will be inside of the write-up for tomorrow, depending on where we're, you know, looking to open, right? So with that being said, though, I want to look at, so this is Eric's brain dump channel here inside of the Discord. And so you can see so far for this week, the only thing in which I've been looking at here was Roku and Netflix. So in Roku, you know, we were talking about over that 84.26s. That was from a previous video. That gave us room to 87.58s. We got that big gap up in Roku. So we were, you know, unable to participate in that first initial move, right? We needed up through those 84.26s, which we got on that gap, and it sent us right into, you know, kind of the level there. So we were able to go ahead and pick up, you know, a small size here of the 95 calls. Those we were able to pick up for right around 22 to 24 cents was current market when we were looking at that. And then I also added a couple of Netflix 475s as well, both of those sized for 0. Netflix first target there, 474s. And then as you can see, we held these overnight. As you can see, as we come into the day, Netflix gets a really, really nice move. First off the bat here, Roku was moving a little bit, but Netflix, really, really nice move here, you know, kind of up in towards 461s and change here. And as you can see, we were able to take some trims here at 954s, right in through this move right there on Netflix. So ended up being a really nice trim. We got 34 cents on those to 71 cents on our first trim. And then we transitioned from there over into Roku. Roku worth a trim here. It should be up about 100%. Then we took another trim on Roku here for 75 cents. Should be, you know, roughly 75 cents there from our 22 to 24 cent entry. So it should be like 200% kind of across the board for everybody on that one. And then again, 92.89s was going to be our first target in Roku here for today. And as we pushed right up into here, you can see at 1022, 1024 was that move, the start of those bars. We went ahead at 1025, basically on this bar right there. Said, okay, cool, that's close enough. Trim now. We can either hold through the pullback or let it get through the level. And on its way up into, you know, kind of the $100 whole number was the plan in there. And the last exit on those Rokus, I think, was 99 cents for me. So I had some off at like 91 cents, some more off at 99 cents. And then those exits, you know, along the way through here, which were at like 50 cents, 75 cents, and then on up into $1. So the 22 cent position, ultimately, and we trailed out of it basically right down under through here when we cracked 91 bucks. Essentially, we were looking, you know, kind of hold this area here, and it just dropped down. I got some alerts and then ended up closing that one out, right? I was away from the desk, and just got some alerts that we broke through and closed that out. So we did get the 92.89 tag here. It was a kind of an aggressive little push and then, you know, pull back from there, which is kind of unfortunate. But I can't complain, right? We were able to pick contracts up for, you know, between 22 and 24 cents on that. And then, you know, ride those to, you know, essentially $1 for a pretty decent exit, right? I was a little over half out of this position right up in through here, and then trailed that remaining portion of the position there as well. I don't remember off the top of my head what those fills were on the exit. I would say probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 47 cents-ish, if I'm remembering something correctly, on that. But anyways, overall, again, can't complain about those. And that's essentially the week here, right? That's been the bread and butter, so far was, you know, the Netflix and the Roku move. And Netflix, I really thought had good potential here to get up into, you know, 474s, which is going to be that next level above. And I still do think that we're ultimately able to get there. You know, just got a super aggressive move out of the gate today and is holding that. So, I still like this one for more room to the upside into tomorrow, and, you know, we'll kind of see how that one, you know, ends up shaking out here. So, with that being said, A number of room members just dropped some symbols in the chat that I'm going to go ahead and take a look at here. So one of those being Bitcoin here, so the Bitcoin futures. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of these. I like this move. I put out a story yesterday here talking about, do we buy the Bitcoin pullback in here, which came down pretty decently right in towards, that 35,000 area. And so far has bounced pretty decent. So at the moment, the way this sits, I do think it probably tries to push a little bit higher in towards 40K and, through these highs kind of up through here. So we'll see. I like it. Good continuation from today here and a little bit more push in the after hours. So I kind of like this one up towards, maybe 40K or so at the moment. Lily was another one here. Lily, I'm not a big fan of this one. I don't think there's too much to do in here. It looks like it wants to try and pin somewhere around $600. Some relative weakness on the day for sure. But at the end of the day, I don't really think there's going to be too much to do in there. Cat here. So Cat, nice rally over, past few days on the daily chart. A little bit of relative weakness compared to overall markets here. With where the current markets are at, I'm not a huge fan of Cat one way or the other. TGT, nice rally today. I do like the strength in here. It is holding the gap. Obviously good earnings gap here. I was debating about this one from a core position a couple of days ago. Thinking like, hey, maybe this is going to crack under $100 finally, and we could add to this position from a core standpoint, like a long-term position. Just based on, looking at the weekly chart, like this thing has been beaten down pretty aggressively here, while at the same time something like a Walmart is, right up at new all-time highs here today, basically even. So I've been kind of looking at that one. I do like the strength in here. I'm going to keep it on watch. Maybe good for a second day earnings play, something like that. Amazon here, one that is being asked about. So good relative weakness in here today, right? It's going to be tough to want to fade this daily chart here. But at the moment, it looks like this thing does want to, in fact, get a little bit of a pullback in here. And it would make sense, right? We've had some extended moves over the past couple of weeks here. I mean, this thing has basically gone from 120s to, almost 150s basically, with no real pullbacks. So I think that's to be expected. I think we'll start to see some more moves like this out of some individual equity names. And I think that's just going to end up being, exactly what it is, right? SPX, NDX. So SPX is basically the same thing as the SPY here. So I'll do the SPY. Kind of same picture as the overall Nasdaq. I'll be looking at this one from a do not trade zone, which I'll go ahead and outline and put in place. The Nasdaq did ultimately get the pullback today, which was the 839 area. S&Ps couldn't quite get there in terms of SPY as to where that was. So a little bit of strength in there compared to the Nasdaq. So we'll keep that one on watch. MANU, Manchester United. I don't love this one, right? I mean, I don't know what this topping tail is. This thing looks kind of thin overall across the board. I don't even know what kind of volume this thing is doing. 1.1 million shares. I would leave this one alone. This is a super, it traded 100 shares on a 2-minute chart right here. Traded, 100 shares there, 600 shares there. Like, it's super illiquid for me. So I would personally stay away from that one. Zach dropped in the AMC here, just as a joke, I'm sure here, but it looks like it's on its way, I think, towards like $4 realistically. There's no real levels in there. I'm just based on this and just saying, hey, it gets cut in half again from $8 to $4. So do with that what you will. SMCI, we got a couple more here we'll take a look at. SMCI, I actually really like this one for a potential 1, 2, 3. Had a little bit more weakness today than I would have liked to have seen, but with OPEX coming up, maybe it wants to run up in towards that kind of $300 number here to round out the week. AMD, I think finally starting that pullback, right? I think we get a pullback towards like the 106 to 110-ish area in here. So I'm not a buyer of any of these names just yet. I'd like to see that kind of larger pullback. AAPL, obviously this is Apple. Same thing, super extended chart to the upside. I'm waiting for a pullback here into, kind of 181s. If that can hold, I think we'll be good for a 200 print from there. So we need about, 7-8 points to the downside. And then from there, I'm interested in longs in Apple. And then last two, we got SQ. Nice rally out of the lows here on a weekly chart basis. And, kind of getting a pretty decent push on the daily chart there. But we're kind of right up into this area where you would expect to see a little bit of profit taking, slash pullback out of that area. So given the nice 3-day run in which it's had, I would be hard pressed to do anything in there going into, kind of the end of this week. And then PDD, this was one, got a nice gap here today with the whole, Baba Baidu situation. I don't like it. I don't know what else to say on it, but I'm going to probably just leave this one alone. Not a probably, it is a definitely, I'm going to leave this thing alone. Total range, $3.48. Just really didn't end up going anywhere. Tried to go higher, tried to go lower, and ultimately couldn't do, anything here. So I'm going to leave that one alone. Like I said, my big focus at the moment is going to be on the Nasdaq into tomorrow. And then also, if we can do something in Netflix, I would like an early morning rally by the first pullback in there. And for that to actually work, it would be even better if we could get some sort of scenario on the Nasdaq where it says, hey, we're likely going, higher from here. One of the scenarios in which we kind of put together earlier in the beginning of this video. So anyways, that is my plan for tomorrow. But at the moment, again, we don't necessarily have to do anything here to kind of round out this week, and it's going to be only A+ setups from here on out. There's no real reason for any more lottos. Those have worked, for 200-300% plus on both of those, kind of across the board on at least first halves. So yeah, we're going to be pretty much chilling and being super patient here for the rest of this week. So anyways, that's what I got for this video. Turned into a long one. As always, thank you guys so much. If you want access to the Discord, by the way, which is going to get you access to that Eric's Brain Dump channel, as well as the MLT chat with all of the other students and traders inside of that, then there is a link beneath this video. Go ahead and click that link. It's just $1. So pretty simple. It should be a no-brainer. If you've spent 17 minutes of your life listening to me for the last 17 minutes, then yeah, click the link and I'll see you guys in the Discord. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.